before going into this video, I forgot to mention that I'm going into the Tier 1 and 2 British cruisers, not the destroyer for this video, but next video will be on that destroyer, so wanted to let you know of this, guys. Hello everybody, this is Middlebro here with some World of Warships Legends content. I know I usually do 7 Days to Die stuff on my channel, but I've always kind of been interested into like military history and like naval stuff like battleships, cruisers, aircraft carriers, and destroyers. And I played this game before a couple of years back, but I kind of stopped. But I figured try this out for the channel and kind of introduce some variety. So I do have some um progress in like American and Japanese and even a little bit in the British tree of the ships and even some German stuff and but I figured I want to get back into the groove of this game, and I would like to kind of try and become a better player in World of Warships Legends. I figured give myself a challenge here with uh, the British. So I did a stream on February 28th. I'm recording this part of the audio on I'm doing like the voiceover for this video on March 1st, and I started off with Weymouth here, and I just want to kind of give a little overview. Just kind of, I want to do this for comparison's sake of the ships, and keep in mind I'm not very good at World of Warships Legends. I'm not at the moment. I'm very much rusty, and so do bear with me like for my gameplay portions. I know it might be a little bit painful here, but so we're gonna kind of go over the loadout here, like with Weymouth, and I do have the upgrade installed on her. I know pretty much nobody plays tier 1 stuff, but kind of for me, I feel like it's just good to know like where we're coming from here. So going into the loadout here, she only has armor-piercing shells that reload in 8.5 seconds, and these can do a maximum with 2,800 damage and fire rate of 10 kilometers. She's only got the damage control party. I didn't throw any boosters on here because I already had this and like the next cruiser up, which is I believe Caledon and Danae unlocked already, so it's like I was just kind of trying to get myself into the groove of this. So moving on to her specs, she has 14,200 hit points and her armor ranges from 652 millimeters. Not it's tier 1, it's kind of whatever. The artillery, she has 8 single barrel 152 millimeter main guns. That's all she really has. She has firing range of 10 kilometers as we went over, reload 8.5 seconds. Her 180-degree turn time for the turrets are 23.3 seconds, and the 2,800 damage maximum for the armor-piercing shells. And then for AA defense, we're not too worried about it. For tier 1, it's tier 1 stuff. We're not going to encounter aircraft carriers unless like I went like with a friend like that has a tier 2 and like they got stuck in a tier 3 battle. But maneuverability, excuse me there. Maximum speed is 26 knots and 500 meter turning circle, so basically half kilometer. She has a rudder shift time of 5.9 seconds, and then she has concealment of 8.2 kilometers by sea. And then if she fires the guns off, she has 10-kilometer detectability range, and then detectability when she's on fire is a little bit further at 10.2 kilometers. And the detectability range by air is 4.9 kilometers when she's quiet. Whether she's on fire or if she's fired her main guns, she's basically got 8-kilometer detectability range, but at 7.9 kilometers. And I believe this is standard for every ship in the game, no matter what. It's 2 kilometers for guaranteed detectability. And then detectability range while firing is smoke is 3.5 kilometers, but we're really not encountering smoke, so that's kind of a null and void thing. I've only played versus AI, I just wanted to kind of get a feel for the ship for a couple battles, so I played 3 battles in it. And so, just decided to kind of move on to tier 2. And obviously when all those battles, like going up against AI is very easy. It's like decent accuracy on it, 68%. The going into armor here, she's got 6 to 10 millimeter armor basically all over. Her superstructure is like on the 38 millimeter stuff, like a bit more armored, but and like the side plates are like 76 millimeter armor, like the cruiser grade stuff. And so we got I'm gonna disable these really fast here. Just take a look at it's the Citadel here. So the Citadel, it basically is waterline looking at the ship, and so it's like it does have a slope bit, so that means like it's a bit more heavily armored. I guess like the only real way you could get through to the Citadel is you do plunging fire into the cruiser. So it's like but looking at her overview, like she's got short shell fuse time results in lower chances of herb penetration for surgical shells, and then fair for piercing, equipped arm pierce shells only, which is the thing with these like I think a whole line of these cruisers, like they only have armor piercing shells equipped on them for their main guns. So, Weymouth. This medium-sized cruiser had weak armor protection, but boasted powerful artillery and quite a high speed. She was conceived as a trade protection cruiser and was designated for countering lightly armed ships of the same type. Entered service 1911, and there was only 4 in the series. Definitely an interesting ship here, and yeah, it's a tier 1, not really going to be going through that much, so before we go into the gameplay here, bear with me for a second. I only have one British commander for cruisers specifically, that is John Jellicoe, and so he has overtime, which is repair party duration, which gives 30% at this current level. He's not the most leveled up. I am just coming back to this game after kind of a long break. So I decided to go with contact is imminent for a bit better torpedo speed on the later cruisers. And I did look at Burn It Down XXL. It's not really useful to me right now because I don't have high explosive shells on this. So it's like I might swap it over later. But no fly zone, like it really doesn't matter to me on this cruiser. It's like I've heard like the AA is not very good for like the early ships, like they're just not good. So I did go for the second skill range here though. I went with Look at Me Now for a little bit stealthier ship. So that's affecting the build a little bit. She's got 2% at the moment. I will try to work on like leveling up my commanders for Britain here as time goes on. And so I didn't go for crisscross because I was kind of like I'd rather have a little bit of stealth, especially since it's a base. It's only got its basic skill, and it's like not to mention I have other commanders for battleships and destroyers. So, and then torpedo acquisition range. I figured my thinking here is because with I'm like, if I'm stealthy enough, I'm not going to get torpedoes hurled at me. I know it would be handy for other ships, like for my allies to see it. But it's just like, it's really not that big of a deal for tier 1 because you're not going to see torpedoes here. For back in stock, I went with this for, of course, the later cruisers, torpedo launcher, reload time, and, just kind of get those off of cooldown faster, be able to unload some more torpedoes. And so I didn't go for hidden threat because I'm not using aircraft carrier yet for Britain. And so maximum movement speed, I was thinking like, in the mindset of torpedoes, kind of like, I'm like, these ships are fairly slow, and I'm like, is 2% really going to move me that much faster with these, like, especially since I don't have these skills upgraded, so that's my kind of thinking behind it. And then the Burn Baby Burn is for aircraft carriers once again with HE bombs. so I'm not really focused on that really. And then reaching out XXL it would probably be a little bit better for if I got this fully upgraded with the main battery range to get it upgraded. But I figured, I would rather go with steer clear for rudder shift time for avoiding torpedoes more. So, this is also, I will say this again at the, before we go into the gameplay for this cruiser, I am going to be going over this one and Caledon in the same video for gameplay, because I figured, kind of go over these, kind of compare them, then we can move on to, the Tier 2 destroyer and the Tier 3 cruiser, Danae. So, yeah, let's get into the gameplay segment here and we'll go over that. So this ship had to do AI battles for because I couldn't find any play versus player battles, at least not within a minute or two. I didn't want to spend all the stream waiting for a tier 1 battle. So I decided to use the AI, for target practice, try to get myself warmed up on this. And so I'm gonna go over my thoughts on Weymouth, and but before I really get into that, I do want to say, because I am basically starting out as a novice here in the year 2025 World of Warships Legends. I do, World of Warships Legends community, please, maybe you do watch this and, you do, especially if you make it this far, if you have tips and general advice for me that is helpful, I would greatly appreciate the, advice. I was kind of really watching, my gameplay, watching, I could do better on stream, when I was doing this on, so, it's one of those, it's I know I have an awful lot to learn with this game. I figured, start with the basics, go back to tier 1, and, try, you teach myself, try to work on, training my guns and hit, you know, try to get hits better and, really kind of try to hone in my accuracy, and it's I will say, later on in the stream, it did start getting better. The only thing I really have kind of trouble hitting right now is I would say the destroyers. They're hard to hit. They're agile and nimble. But anyways, enough of that. The advice would be greatly appreciated. But the the Weymouth, to me, it's I think a lot of people would say this about tier 1 ships. It's one of those. It's interesting ship, and it's I was kind of struggling to get damage and destroying ships. I think I destroyed 1 or 2 with this thing. Then it's in another one of the 3 battles, but I figured this would be kind of better to show because this was my second battle with it, kind of telling myself to slow down with the with this, and which I do want to say, if you do hear me hear kind of my voice talking, like this is stream audio, that's playing in the background, stream footage, wanted to put this in here, so I have lowered the volume, so you shouldn't really hear it too much. This thing does have a lot of guns, but I think this is kind of standard for this kind of era of ship. So it's kind of, I know, there's some ships that were just kind of in a sense, almost Spanish galleon style, where they just had tons of guns all over the side of the ship, just, it's the one thing I was just kind of not really too enthusiastic about was you really have to turn this thing broadside to get all your guns to bear, which obviously can leave you exposed, but it's really, fighting in a tier 1 battle, it's you're not gonna encounter battleships, but still it's no excuse to really get into the fights here, I know some of these ships, some of these shots are not that great. Try to train myself, but it's like it's just kind of like I like the kind of. I'll say this: I like the traditional kind of how do I say this gun layout of like later ships where it's like you don't have to, where you can generally get multiple guns to bear on with like the bow or the stern, like depending on what kind of scenario you're running, and it's like into here. But it's just one of those that's like this thing is kind of clumsy, and it's kind of it's like it could be just me being new and not exactly too great at this. So it is just, but it's one of those that's like after the third battle, I was just kind of like I'm like, you know what? I feel I'm ready to kind of move on to tier 2 and kind of really start kind of trying to learn more, like how to play the game and and get through this. It was just a big thing of like, I'm like, let me just kind of dip my toes in the water here and get myself going. Taking on these cruisers, it's like, I was getting assists. I was at least somewhat happy with like, myself, getting some decent hits on the enemy cruisers, like, let alone just like flat out destroying them. The ship is almost gone, so this is pretty much the end of this battle. It's really nothing special, but just kind of thought I should like express my thoughts on Weymouth. It's like nothing too special. I'm sure we'll probably get into something really fun, and probably a decent battle for tier 1. But let's get on to the next ship. So going over Caledon, she's the upgrade from Weymouth, like the next step up from her. And do you have the upgrades installed here? Targeting system, which basically gives the main battery better firing range up to 11.2 kilometers. So like, and then I got the hull. Like, I was playing through this on stream, kind of really trying to get a feel for it, get her upgraded, and so like, I already had the stuff. Like, I just had to reinstall it. So yeah, we'll be going into the loadout pretty quick here for Caledon. It's not too bad of a ship. Of course, we still have the armor piercing. The reload time is a little bit better at 8 seconds. And she has a little bit better maximum damage at 2,900. Of course, she has 11.2 kilometer firing range, so not too bad there. And then, but unlike Weymouth, Caledon here has torpedoes. Her torpedoes are taking 42.2 seconds to reload, and then they have max damage of 10,000 and torpedo range at 6 kilometers. That's when they disappear. So they do travel at 55 knots of speed. Not too bad. I'm not exactly sure of like torpedoes from other nations and all that. So unlike Weymouth here, she at least has a repair party, which is a little handy in some cases of her, being able to regenerate a little bit of HP. So going over her survivability, she has 19,000 hit points, so a fair bit more than Weymouth. It should be expected because she is the next in line for her. And then 652 millimeter armor. Her artillery, we have 5 single barrel 152 millimeter main guns. And then 11.2 firing range for kilometers. And then reload time is at 8 seconds as we went over earlier. And 180-degree turn time is 18 seconds with the max damage of 2,900 damage. So, like, takes a little bit less time to turn around. And then the torpedoes, going over what we have for those. We have 4 of them with 2 tubes. So basically meaning can toss 4 torpedoes out per side. And they do have a 180-degree turn time of 7.2 seconds. And the torpedo detectability range by sea is 1.1 kilometers. Going over AA defense, from what I'm aware of, like the AA defense is not that great in the low tiers. Like and for most of the like tier 2 and 3 ships, it's like, but we do have two Maxim machine guns, 7.7 millimeter Mark 1s, and they do damage of 3 per second. Not very good. Firing range 1 kilometer. And then the 40 millimeter Vickers, we have two of those, and they do about 11 damage per second, so they're basically the workhorses of our anti-aircraft. The firing range is 2 kilometers on those, so a little bit better. And the 76.2 millimeter 45 caliber HA Mark IVs do damage of 4 per second, and then firing range of 3 kilometers. The AA defense is like, I can understand it not being great because like I think these are World War I era ships, so it's like we didn't really see the aircraft carriers come along until World War II. Anyways, maneuverability is 29 knots maximum speed. Maximum turning circle, well, tightest is 530 meters, so a little bit more than Weymouth. And then the rudder shift time is 5.6 seconds, so I think that's fairly quick for that. And then concealment is 8.4 kilometers by sea. When she fires her main gun, she's going to 11.2 kilometers, and then when she's on fire, she's a little bit less obvious, we'll say at 10.4 kilometers, but you obviously don't want to be on fire. Detectability range by air is 5.1 kilometers, and detectability by firing in the main guns is 8.2 kilometers, and when she's on fire, she's a little bit less detectable at 8 kilometers. Guaranteed detectability range is 2 kilometers, as I say with Weymouth. This is basically guaranteed. The detectability while firing in smoke is 3.7 kilometers, so that is a little bit useful when we're actually kind of going through, you know, like, because we do have ships that will provide smoke, like destroyers, and I don't know if any cruisers have any of that stuff. I've only done 3 battles in standard. My win rate is absolutely horrible. I was kind of just getting a feel for the ship. It's like, I've only managed to destroy 2 ships. It's like, to be honest, who's really playing in tier 2 in 2025? Like, probably not the most popular, I'd imagine. I did have some hard times fighting some battles in there for tier 2, like especially when I was using the destroyer. But I those ships that I destroyed though, they were with torpedoes. I know one was a battleship, which we'll go over in the gameplay. So with her armor, the basically everything is 6 to 10 millimeters. Aside from like, you know, on the light side, the fore and aft armor is 38 to 76. So basically the more heavily armored. So basically, unless I think you're in a battleship, if you're in a cruiser or destroyer, you want to be kind of aiming for the blue section here. You want to aim for that stuff, like get some damage on. If you're a battleship, I would imagine like you know, battleships coming at tier 3, which you can't get into tier 3s with as a tier 2. The battleship should be able to probably punch through here, so try to not get punched by a battleship. The more of the superstructure stuff, like the conning tower top is 52 millimeters, so you ain't going through that, but it's such a small target that I would imagine that like enemies are gonna be hitting through here and, you know, going through all that. Going through this, the main batteries, I don't know if they can be penetrated by cruisers. I think I did get a main gun knocked out on this ship or one of the others by like a battleship gun, so you hitting me like one of the shells hitting. So be careful, but generally armored. The Citadel here is, she's got the Citadel is basically right here in between the aft turrets and the fore turrets, so basically kind of try and hit like under the smokestacks and under the center gun here. But so going over her kind of benefits and flaws, the British torpedoes can be launched one by one. That is something I remember hearing about with the British ships. Like they have this kind of as an advantage. The fair for piecing. Yeah, these cruisers have only armor piercers, and then compromising incoming high caliber armor piercing shells are more likely to overpenetrate the armor, but may still arm in some cases. So it's like, from my understanding, it's like basically like say if you get shot by a battleship, like shells kind of come flying through here on the armor, you might have a chance at like having like a battleship, like just coming and flying through the bow, like or the stern. I don't know about the citadels. I would imagine like most likely arming the citadels because that is pretty heavily armored. But it would probably, you might take less damage because the shell just flies right through the armor. And and I've heard like the saying of, like sometimes like very light armor or basically no armor at all is better than having some armor because like if the shells just fly right through you, you're basically that basically means you're taking less damage because it's not blowing up inside the ship. The Caledon. This light cruiser is designed to provide support to destroyers and perform reconnaissance duties. In contrast to her predecessors, the ship had a higher speed and carried powerful torpedo armament. Entered service in 1917, and there were 4 ships in a series, like Weymouth and those ships. So without a further ado, look at this ship. Pretty nice looking ship. We're gonna get into the gameplay portion of this. So this battle for Caledon I chose in particular. We're in an archipelago, and we're on a domination game here. And this one, I was just kind of really, like, I was really starting to focus, like, when I got into the standard battles, like the PvP section, like with the 9v9. Like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't want to be an absolute potato. Like, I've seen like of videos like from the big names like Spartan Elite 43 and like some of the others like going like, I don't want to be absolute dummy and not play objective at all. And I spawned over by C here, and so my kind of whole shtick here was I was thinking to myself, let's look to see about getting C capped to at least try to get something, because if I remember correctly, this was a tier 2 with I was in like a tier 3 battle, and I was like one of the few tier 2 ships in this. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that much with old Caledon here, but it's one of those. I'm like, if I can at least capture something, I was gonna say, I would be happy with that. Like at least work on getting that up, and working on to the target. Like, and if I could possibly get some damage later, I think cool. I will be happy with this. It is the ship to me. It's like I like this a lot better. I do. It's like it's not the Weymouth where it has like just kind of guns all over the starboard side. We do spot Arkansas, and I do get spotted here, and I kind of start taking some evasive maneuvers, and I kind of start lighting up the destroyer here. I'm not even gonna focus on the battleship. I'm not even going to worry about it. That should be the least of my concerns, because I don't have the guns to be taken onto that thing. I'm in a tier 2 cruiser, and battleships start at tier 3. I was thinking, like, if I can possibly, like, damage this thing a little bit, score a hit there, about 1,000 damage, not so bad. And it's like, this is not a high kill game here. I didn't just, like, I only got 1 kill, which you'll see in a little bit. I was just kind of thinking to myself, if I can at least try to work on my survivability, which I think I should probably really work on a lot. It's like, then if I can cap something, I would be happy with this. That cruiser gets wiped off the map, I'm like, I just start going quiet on the guns here, because I'm just kind of like, I want to try and not be try to fall off the Arkansas's radar, get him to not focus on me, and and you see some shells, but I'm like, I'm gonna start turning around here. I'm gonna work on capturing the C point. I want to try to make sure I'm doing something for the team. I don't want to be absolutely worthless. I figured go behind the island here, lose the detectability, and so that's exactly what I did. And it's like, because I remember like the big content creators go on like, like if anything, try and cap a point. Don't, like, don't just immediately throw for your team. Like capping a point can be worth a lot more to the enemy. Well, worth a lot more to your team than having like destroying every single ship on the map. And so we managed to cap C point, and I was just kind of. I did have like planes coming after me. I had a bomber strike come and hit me hard with HP for a good chunk of my HP. I was like, well, great. I can't really do much here. I'm just like, don't fire my guns. Just stay quiet. Just try and cap the area. I did detect what looks to be that's the aircraft carrier over there. I was just kind of like they're well out of my range. I'm just gonna stay quiet, and I think when like I get the plane spotting me, it's like I'm only visible to the aircraft carrier. I decided to take some pop shots at Arkansas. I'm like, I'm probably not gonna get any damage on this. I got a couple deflections. I did get what looks to be an overpen, so. And then I did kind of, using the island for cover. Figured let's try to open up on that destroyer a little bit. And it's like I should have led my shots a little bit better on that, but they get wiped out, and then I open up a little bit here. I'm just kind of like, I should be perfectly safe. It doesn't look like the ships are paying attention to me. We did get the C point, so I did obtain my goal. I decided to go through the center of the map, and this is kind of something like coming up here. Like I knew like there was a battleship in the center. Like I saw them on the other side of the island. I'm like, well, I do have torpedoes. I could try to take out Ganga. Like, I'm like, I don't know if they're coming around the island for me, or if I'm going to be or if I'm going to have the element of surprise here. I did start taking pop shots at this cruiser over here, and so it's just kind of one of those. I'm like, try to get some damage where I can, but I think I started being quiet here with my ship's guns. Like, I'm just kind of like, don't try to just not constantly fire my guns off. Don't always want to do that. From what I remember. So, got these torpedoes from the torpedo bombers coming after me. I did manage to successfully dodge them. It's like, so I'm glad that avoid some damage. Now we're around the corner of this island here, and this is kind of like why I picked this gameplay in particular. I saw Ganga. I'm like, well, I got my torpedoes. Let's see. I'm probably not gonna do anything. I immediately hit my damage controls after firing off the torpedoes. I'm like, I'm probably screwed over here, and then I start taking fire from the enemy, and I got a dev strike on Ganga there. I was like, okay, I immediately got sunk. I'm like, I don't care. I sunk a battleship, and I sunk the I got the battleship. I got the enemy point. So I'm like, I'm happy. I feel like I contributed to the team a fair amount. A little bit of frame rate drops there. Well, not frame rate drops. I'm just looking over this as it's being time lapsed. It's not so smooth on my end. I apologize for that little hiccup. But it's one of those that I've been just kind of watching battles, just kind of watching how this played out, and just kind of seeing how we do. We do wind up losing in the end here because we lost all our ships. I figured we were looking pretty good, but the enemy managed to pick off our enemy team. Like battleships were kind of missing shots, and it's like I feel like it's probably because of tier 3. Like it's still kind of being the beginner phase. I was just kind of looking through all this. It's like just really one of those points of like I'm like, I should just kind of watch, observe, and kind of see how others do it, and like just kind of try and just try and observe, like kind of get more information here. As you can see, like kind of they're going for like St. Louis and like all that. Like this Wyoming was trying to do its thing, and it's like this. I was watching this destroyer here, like with they get blowed up. They were on like barely any HP. So it's just one of those. It's like the last one remaining was a destroyer. They barely had any HP left as well, and it's like I just kind of realized like once we were on that destroyer, we were probably dead and done for. So it's just, but yeah, it's like so far it's been enjoyable. I've been enjoying learning, experiencing here. So, guys, after we got our after action report here, here pretty quick once the ship goes down, and it's like not too bad, I'd say. Dev strike and all that. I'm gonna end this video here. If you like this content and you want to see more from me, please do leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. It helps the channel so much. And do turn on notifications so you don't miss a video from me. And we'll be back with another video. Have a great day.